All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Ebony again, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Miss Kimiko with us. How are you, Kimiko?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing good. Happy Friday. Happy Halloween Friday at that.
Yeah,
It's looking good here in San Francisco. Very excited for an adventure-filled weekend, but I'm extremely happy to be here and join you.
thank you so much. And you guys, she is taking time out of her day to share some jewels with you. And as a form of appreciation, if you stick around to the end, you'll have an opportunity to earn a complimentary gift. So stick around and let's see what Kimiko wants to share with us today. So let's get to know you on a personal level. Can you explain one motivational quote that really pushes you, encourages you, and motivates you?
Yeah. One of the mantras that I stand by, and I stand by it so much that I even have it tattooed on me, is without struggle, there is no progress. And it
Yeah.
seems like such a kind of stern quote, but it's something that I feel has always pushed me in times of difficulty. It's a reminder to me that when you feel uncomfortable or you're going through something that's really challenging, that's also a sign of growth and evolving and transforming. And so I've always kept that near to me, that when I'm uncomfortable, it's preparing me for whatever's to happen next.
Yeah.
And so I hope out there, if that's not a quote that you've heard before, that could be a mantra to help you through some tough times as well.
Yes, and we all know about uncomfortable times. I think that most of us can say that a good portion of our life has been uncomfortable at points in time that we end up just getting through anyway. And
Yeah.
sometimes after going through it and then looking back at it, we say, well, really, that wasn't so bad after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some discomfort that you may have had in your own life. So maybe you had a goal or a dream in mind and you didn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel. But at the end of the day, after some unforeseen challenges or circumstances, you were still able to bring that goal to fruition.
Mm-hmm. So this is something that's actually an ongoing challenge, and it's kind of a roller coaster in itself. So for me, I've always been a creative, an artist at heart. And one of, I think, the biggest challenges for me has been pursuing this journey as a blogger and content creator, especially in this modern day world where there's so much of it happening, that there's a lot of pressure to constantly keep up with the trends. And there's a lot of times when certain parts of the industry make it feel so number oriented that you find pressured to do certain things to help the growth strategy, and it's so tough. But I think for me, that's an ongoing challenge because one of the biggest challenges was really overcoming myself. It was trying to get to that point where I was confident enough to say, you know what, I'm going to create a platform to share my voice and empower others too. This has been a closet creative outlet for me since I first got on a computer, like since Zynga or Blogspot has been there for people to really vent and pour their hearts out into it via writing and storytelling. But it wasn't until 2016 when I launched my own blog and was finally like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit and I'm going to take it seriously. And so I think from that, it always feels like you never have or see the light at the end of the tunnel, because especially in like this opportunity for growth and evolving, you're always forward thinking. And so you never feel like you reach a certain milestone before you're chasing the next.
Yeah.
But I think what I had to do was, that was really key for me, was to always keep my intentions close. So whether that's in a bullet journal or you put it on the notes of your phone, is having your why in front of you all the time and reminding yourself of why did I start this journey in the first place, and making sure that the decisions that you make along the way are aligned with that and that you don't get too far off from that. And I think that's how I stay focused. But there is definitely a lot of challenges and pressures that still occur. trying to remain real and authentic and raw while balancing out this scary, I guess you could say the fearful part of like being vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
Having that path. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you're exactly right. Like there's so much content, blog content already out there that it's kind of like, so how do I stand out with all of the other content that's out there? But I think that we all have our own experiences that only we have. So that automatically puts you in a different situation than somebody else's content. And you might be saying something very similar, but if you have a different story behind those experiences, you shine as Kimiko.
Yeah, exactly. And I totally stand with you on that. I think that's exactly like the internal battle that happens for a lot of us creatives and content creators. In today's world, there's like just so much of it that it's a reminder for us not to compare amongst the other successes, but that it's important for us to work together and collaborate and get those creative energies flowing. Rather than feeling like it's a competition. Because I think that is the first thing that will discourage anyone to say, maybe this isn't for me. Or, that's a lot of times I'll ask myself, is this what I really signed up for? And then that's when I bring it back, or when I start to create these creative friendships and relationships with everyone, especially like you. It's so empowering, and it reminds you of why you're doing that. But then there's also times where you feel like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe my content isn't resonating with people. But at the end of the day, it's really down to, but this is my story, and everyone has their opportunity to tell their story in their own specific way. So I think that is for sure an ongoing up and down battle. But that's where I also think the support is. When you are honestly 100% who you are and you commit to that on your platform, whatever your mission is, whether it's to empower people in health, empower people to find and discover their personal style, or if it's to try something new creatively, it's really about making or being a magnet. As honest as you are is what you're going to gravitate towards you. And the more honest you are with yourself, the more real the people are going to be that surround you. And that's one of the most important things that I learned so far, is just that the tribe that I've created around me has been a complete reflection of how honest I have been in that journey.
Yeah, and you are so right when you say that those people that you attract, a lot of times they are a replica of the energy that you're putting out there as well. And that can go either in a good way or a bad way. So if you're putting out a lot of negative energy into the universe, and you're backstabbing people, or you're talking about people, or you're not bringing your best into the world, then you begin to attract people that are very similar to that. And I think that the more that we can put out love, the more love you're going to see. So if we base everything around just that concept, just putting out as much love into the world, it'll come back. And a lot of times it'll come back triple fold.
I completely agree with that. Yep. I think also too, with the amount of content that's going out there, no matter what genre of content it is, there's always going to be those topics that attract attention, right? Like spilling tea, which is definitely a huge trend that's happening in like the YouTube and the Instagram world. And it's a reminder that even though, yes, as far as like growth, or if that's what people are passionate about, that's fine. But for me and for the people that I like to surround myself around, it's the opposite, and the people that are true and have full hearts and really want to empower other people will continue to spread that message. So
I think that's key, because there are certain things that people may see others do that it seems like it's a lucrative industry or a lucrative thing to do or idea, but it's not necessarily aligned with who they are as an individual. So it's okay that it worked out well for this person over here, but if it's not really who you are, and you have to force yourself to be a certain way to fit into that mold, a lot of times you're going to get frustrated because it's not you.
Exactly. Yeah. If that's who you are, your honest heart, then that's perfect for you in that
Right,
circumstance.
right,
But for,
right,
yeah, so as long as whatever it is, I think the way I like to put it is, your platform or your blog or your journey is exactly where you want to be when you feel at home with it.
right.
That's like the most rewarding feeling, is that when you look at the words that you're putting out or the people that you're attracting and say, this is a place that I'm extremely proud of.
Yeah,
And I try to use that as to take the temperature of how I'm doing. If I start to feel like it's draining me, I'll be like, okay, I need to take a step back and I need to reevaluate. What is it that I'm writing that's maybe something that I'm not passionate about anymore? Is it more because I'm trying to like resonate with people, or is it because like I'm being honest with myself? And so I think that is a compass that helps me make sure that I'm staying on the path that's honest to me, but also resonating with others at the same time.
yeah, yeah. And I think that you're so right. We know when things are not really what we're into, and it does cause more stress. And when it causes more stress, the things that we are actually interested in, we don't even have the energy to do it
Yeah.
because we spent so much of our time and focus and energy over here when really we should have just left that alone and focused it on this over here.
Hmm.
So
But
it really burns you in two places.
yeah, and it's funny that you mention it and say it that way. I recently had a Q&A on my Instagram, now that they have like the Ask Me Anything feature on the stories. And one of the, I think the most thought-provoking questions someone put in that box was, what is advice you would give to your former self? And oh my God, so many things came to my head. I mean, first of all, I would have told myself to calm down. But other than that, I didn't lose my fun heart, but I definitely have calmed down. But what I came to say when I was coming up with a response was, I would have told myself to know about that compass a long time ago. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Right.
Because I have a tendency to also want others around me to be happy. And that's how my empathetic self also creates happiness, is seeing the energy that I'm putting out there is creating more happiness. But then also, it could be a bad thing if you aren't fully self-aware about that, because it'll bring you towards people that maybe you're saying yes to something that you don't really feel passionate about saying yes to. And
Right.
so I think it's, yeah, really important to always bring time back, even if it's putting time aside once a week to write about your week and say, what made me feel good about this week and what made me
Yeah.
feel bad about this week. And then taking that to help shift your mindset for the next upcoming week and say, what can I do
Yeah.
differently to change my thought patterns or align myself? And sometimes it does mean separating yourself from projects or people or things that don't make you feel whole anymore, and trying to avoid the energy vampires.
Yeah. And talk about that from a support standpoint. So for people that feel like, I have this vision or this goal or this desire, and I'm so used to toxic energy being around me that I really need support, but I don't know how to go about gaining support so that I can move from point A to point B to point Z.
Hmm.
Sometimes people they are very clear on what they want in life, but
Yeah.
they're like, I don't even know where to begin to be able to surround myself with the type of people of similar mindset that you're speaking about in order
Hmm.
to make this dream come true. So can you offer some tools or some encouragement or just some words of wisdom that you've learned?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a loaded question because there's so much of it. And I feel like it's such a long, there's so many different parts of that question. But I think the core thing is the why. One of the things that I've learned in this journey as a creative is that you will be the first person to discredit yourself before anyone even has the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Even when I was just kicking off my blog, when people would say, "Are you a blogger?" And I would be like, "Yeah, I'm starting off to be." And I realized in that in itself is that if I couldn't be strong and stand by it myself, it would translate in how I was communicating that to other people. And so I really had to take some time. And it's a constant journey and growth for me to remind myself, I am this, giving myself positive affirmations and saying, I am a creative. I stand by what I say and I'm honest with that. And then using that as my core, right? Because we can't pour ourselves and fully into other people until we invest in ourselves. But once you have that core, I think the next part of it is being vulnerable. I think vulnerability is the second tool, and starting to share that mission. Because when I started creating the blog, I was like, okay, I'm going. I've got the cadence for it. The second part was that I found myself still shying away from the broader audience. Maybe not, including my family, but just still sort of writing to myself and telling them the why. Why is it that you do this? When they have the conversation, or if people start questioning, or you're at that vulnerable place where now you have the attention of people, you tell them, say, this fills me up because ... And
Right.
it's, even if people will challenge you on it, it's really hard for others to try to take away when you're being that vulnerable and pulling yourself. And even if they aren't supportive of it, within yourself, or you've created and built this like stronger foundation within yourself to know that your why will surpass the support or the non-supportive environment that you're in. And as you continue to build, and as you continue to still start saying your why and spreading your why, and you feel more comfortable. Sometimes it starts smaller. Sometimes people feel more comfortable in like the less than 100 range for a long time before they're like, okay, I think I'm going to go broader. I'm going to step into more events so I can meet more people. That's on their own time, and that's the best part about it. So it's really taking your time, being vulnerable, and then always revisiting with yourself and your intentions and your why. And I think those three key things are a routine for success. It's like when I'm finally uncomfortable, or when I'm finally comfortable with this comfortable place now, that's when I know it's time to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that people sometimes will forget is that in order for us to sometimes put out our best selves, even when we know our why, is how do we take care of ourselves so that we feel our best? We have the energy and the vitality to actually carry out all of these things that we have in our minds. Because we all know that when we're not feeling good, we don't necessarily want to operate at our best self, right? We want to go somewhere and relax and be a recluse and away from the world.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about the relationship between us caring for ourselves, whether that's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it is, and us being able to carry out whatever that why is?
Yeah, absolutely. And oh man, that it just reminds me so much, because it really is a constant battle. So at least for my personal journey, I'm pretty familiar. I was familiar with like mental illness from an early age, and learning how to be a supportive ally for those in my family that were going through times of depression and anxiety, and then also learning how to navigate my own feelings and situations around depression and anxiety itself. And a lot of the times they, like you're saying, they really do go hand in hand. And then I also think in this last year, there's been an uptick in being an advocate for self-care, which I completely stand behind, because we're sometimes also in a culture too, where it's like constantly going and going and going, that we forget to leave time for ourselves too. The one thing that I think that I challenge in that, I don't want to call it a trend, because self-care isn't a trend, it's a need, it's an essential, is that self-care doesn't always necessarily have to look like face masks or jade rollers. Self-care is so personal to every single person out there. Sometimes if it's like, for me, it's picking up like a paintbrush or a pen and doodling again, or just pulling out a coloring book and, getting lost in that. For other people, or other moments for me, sometimes it's literally just being in the comfort of my loved ones, eating pizza and binging on Netflix. It doesn't have to look like anything. And even though self-care is a trendy thing out there right now, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It's just about you. And I think that goes hand in hand, because when you feel like, okay, I know that I have given myself time to invest in myself, you feel compelled to pour into other people. But if you don't have the energy, or you're not feeding your body enough food or the right kind of food that gives you that energy, or you're not hydrating yourself, when you speak or, interact with other people, you'll feel it, or you can see it, or you'll be like, I don't feel like getting up today and going after my goals. Or sometimes it's even as little as, I don't have enough energy to even do the simple things, like the things I need to take care of the house or the errands. And it's really an internal battle in that case. And I realize there's this pattern that when you do take time to invest in yourself, in nutrition and good eating and filling yourself up with the things that you love, you're able to be that whole self, and you can even help people even more because you have the energy and the capacity to do that.
Yes. And I think that when you start to treat yourself with care, whatever that means to you, the more that you do it, the more that when you don't do it, you stray away from it, you begin to miss it, and you have something to compare it to. So you know how fulfilling it is for you to do X, Y, Z, and you remove that and you feel like something's missing because now you've actually taken the time to devote to yourself. So you know exactly how much better it can feel to give to yourself. And everyone else around you notices it too. I'm sure that, when you're taking care of yourself and you're feeling alive, people around you are noticing that you have a smile on your face, you're lighting up, and you're treating them better,
Exactly. So I guess that's my question for everyone out there, is that asking yourself about a question. Maybe there was a moment where someone said, hey, you're glowing today.
Right.
Ask yourself what it was that made you glow. And one of the things that I think is one of my go-to best practices for trying to get my creative energy flowing is recreating the environment you need to get you in that space. So say you're being extra creative, right? Or you're being extra motivated in your job or in any aspect of your life. What was it in that situation that made you do that? Was it the music around you? Was it that you were outside or in the comfort of your cozy home? And try to recreate that scenario as many times as you can and put yourself in that scenario. So you're finding whatever it is that's drawing that energy out of you. Maybe it's people. Maybe it's people that make you feel at home. But whatever you're doing when you feel that good, that makes you glow, that's what you should always gravitate back to when you're feeling like you're losing yourself amongst all the chaos and trying to do the balancing act of all the different areas of life.
Yes, thank you. And for me, I love interacting with people in the way that I am with you right now. I love music. A good portion of my day, I have music on. It's almost like an addiction. I just feel like I just come alive when I have
That's
music
me
on.
too.
So I think that if we really pay attention to ourselves, we know what those things are that light us up. And the more that you can include those things into your life, that the more joy you're going to bring to your life. And it just causes a ripple effect because you begin to treat the next person great. They begin to treat the next person great. They begin to, and it continues. So I think that the more that we can find those things that really light us up and we discover how to utilize our gifts in the way that serves others, we're going to begin to see that we just radiate that light more often.
Exactly.
I appreciate you mentioning that. You have such a strong presence online and you're like a magnet to follow because I think that all of you listening, all of her contact information is going to be in the description box. And what you'll find is when you're following her content, you're going to feel like, okay, this is a regular girl like me. If she can be a positive influence and she's just a regular girl like me, I can too. So I think that, finding those people that you want to surround yourself with that positive glow is particularly important when you're starting off with discovering how you're going to bring those gifts into the world, as well as when you're deep into whatever that mission is. And there are days that maybe you don't feel that great. But you can go to Kimiko's page and you're going to see some love and light.
Love and light always. That's what I try to do. But that means so much to me. Thank you. And I totally agree. When you and I connected, I felt that same energy. Like it was For me, I feel very compelled to respond extra quick to people who I feel like are on my same vibe, same wavelength, who are spreading the love, the positivity, and are literally there because their mission is to empower and help others become thriving, better versions of themselves. And so I could easily say the same thing for you. And I'm so glad that this is just the beginning of our blossoming friendship together. And I'm glad that we had this chance to talk and be able to share it with other people too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And for any of you that are listening, if you resonate with what either Kimiko or I say in our content, please reach out to us. We welcome people that want to put their passions into the world and create a world that is full of joy, as she said earlier. And that's not always going to happen at, the quickest time in some people's lives. They need a little bit of time to figure themselves out, and that's okay. Every day is still a learning experience, and you can look back at those lessons and say, okay, well, it took me some time to get to where I want to be, but I always believe that even if you just take a small step in the right direction, that's okay. You don't have to move so quickly and then you end up in burnout status.
Yeah.
And then now you're on recovery for 6 months. So what good was that? So I think that taking your time sometimes is quite okay.
Yeah, I agree. One foot in front of the other, right? Sometimes that's all you need to do.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Kimiko. And for those of you that want to learn more about me more intimately, you'll see my Nutrition for Busy Women Facebook group link in the description box. So I welcome you guys to join. And at the beginning of this interview, I also said that you'll have an opportunity to earn a complimentary gift. So for anybody out there that is struggling to define what their core life purpose is or what their true personality type is, or their true gifts and interests and strengths in this world so that you can serve others as well, please reach out to me. I have all types of assessments that I will provide to you free of charge just so that you can get a little bit more direction. And then if you just want people to help support you on your goals, so you have clarity and focus on what you want to do, but you want people to support your mission, I'm all about empowerment and support. So you can join me in my group as well for that, or just send me a quick email and ask me how I can help support you. And I encourage you to speak with the community as Kimiko and I are doing. We're putting this out so that we can reach a larger audience. So if you want to share your story on this platform, let me know, and I would love to have you interview as well. Kimiko, do you have any last words of encouragement that you want to put out there for the ladies listening?
I'm going to just bring it back to that first mantra I went to. I know we've been talking about a lot of positivity, a lot of love, a lot of light. But in the times when you don't feel like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, always remember that without struggle, there is no progress. And if you're in that uncomfortable zone, know that there's always something good that's coming next. You just got to power through it as hard as you can. And even if that means taking a step back, taking your own time, and just trying to center yourself, do that.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate you bringing that up again, because we all know that it's not all sunshine and daisies all the time. So recentering ourselves is particularly key. Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that back up. For those of you listening, if you feel this could be of benefit to someone else, please share this content out. I strongly appreciate it. And until next time, hope you guys live a life full of meaning and purpose. I'll talk to you soon.